both sides. Like I said, it's like if you're social media, if you're in a serious relationship, you shouldn't be following a bunch of other exes or females if you're a guy, and vice versa if you're a woman, and chatting them up. There's no point in doing that. It's not a good plan. But people do it because it's innocent, and they might mean it to be innocent. But then that people usually don't set out with the intent to do something wrong. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so everyone that I ever say this to says, oh, well, I trust them, or they have some kind of excuse as to why it's not going to happen to them or why they're above it. But that's everyone who's done it. Also, at one point thought they were above it, or that their partner was above it, right? And so that's why it's so dangerous, and that's why people ignore the danger. Which we're not telling you to be
paranoid, right? Like, it's not good to be paranoid.
Right.
But it's just better to not, like, even have that there. Like, what's the point? What's the point of following a bunch of guys as a woman? Like, even with guy friends that I had, like, before we started dating, it's not like I was like, I hate you all, bye.
Right.
But it's like, I have you, I have our relationship. Like, if those people are in a relationship too, then, sometimes we've met up with them and things like that. So it's not like you're like cutting everybody out, but it's definitely like single people and random guys, or like girls for guys, or, whatever. It's just like, you have to be able to like let that part of your life go.
Yeah, of course.
And move forward with your partner. And if you have a good, strong connection, you're not going to want anything to interfere with that. And it might be innocent, but it could be misconstrued as something else, kind of like the episode we did where if like a guy goes to a bar, even if he's not doing anything, it can be misconstrued. It can be turned into something else. It looks bad. So it's just, if you really care, it's not that big of a deal to just let it all go and focus on your relationship.
Right. Well, it comes down to one of two things, right? If it's like, because people have a hard time letting go of the friends of the opposite sex, which I don't want derail us, but it comes down to one of two things, right? Honestly, it's like, okay, either you can just let them go because it doesn't mean very much to you at all. So just goodbye. Like, I don't need to talk to you anymore. Or you can't just let them go because it's a really meaningful relationship that you have with them. In which case, you have a meaningful relationship with someone of the opposite sex.
Right. So you might like them more than just as a friend.
If it's not meaningful, if it's not meaningless enough that you could just drop that, then it's meaningful enough that it's a romantic relationship.
Right.
Regardless of whatever you call it, if it's that important to you, it's now moved into the romantic. Even if you haven't done anything sexual, even if you haven't said anything sexual, in your mind, it's in a romantic relationship bucket because it's meaningful. You can't drop it. So it comes down to one of those two. And that's where, like, this is why no one gets away from this. So it's like, ooh, if it's so easy, then let go of it. If it's not, then you got a problem.
Right. And it should be easy because you're focusing on the person that you're building a life with, that you live with, that you're building a family with. Like, that should be your main priority. And I don't want us to sound like throw all your friends away, you know, because like that's not the right thing. But go watch our episode on friends of the opposite sex. Have we done one yet, actually?
I think we did it in the rules of relationship. Maybe we didn't do the whole
we haven't done a full episode, but the rules one, go watch that.
Full episode,
but you do have to focus and make your priority your relationship, because that's what you're in every single day. That's what you're building. That's what you're going to be in for the rest of your life.
Right.
So it's like, you don't need friends of the opposite sex because that's just going to lead to problems, conflicts, nothing good.
And it wouldn't fly. Before social media, what would have happened? You would have had to call them up on the phone.
Right.
Like, you're really going to be talking to, are you really going to be so bold to talk to a person of a friend of the opposite sex when you're like in a relationship with in front of your partner? Is that really
inappropriate?
If it's just a text or it's just on social media, it doesn't seem like it's that's why social media is dangerous, is because it makes things that seem like they're not, or that are a big deal. It makes them seem like they're not a big deal.
I agree.
And that's why, and people, like I said, no one sets out with the intention of getting into trouble usually.
Right.
But they do. anyway.
Well, like you said, it's a lot easier because it's very like minuscule things, like hearting a photo. Like you don't think that that's a big deal, but it's like in today's day and age, you don't know what that means.
Yeah.
The person could be interested in you. They could just be being nice, but you don't know. And unless you ask them. And then if you have to ask them, then you're going down a whole nother wormhole because like you shouldn't even be doing that. So it definitely like complicates things. So better than